And of course, we have some fantastic alumni on the call with us as well. And I'm really excited to do this virtual Meet the Grad night. And I'm looking forward to some questions from our current students as well. So we have 3 alumni, all from different classes. I'm going to start off back in 2019, Alexis Burton. Alexis, give us a wave, will you? So all the students know. Awesome. And I think some of the students on the call are familiar with Alexis. I'm going to read Alexis's bio. So Alexis Burton is an award-winning photographer from Hamilton, Ontario. Since graduating from the Creative Photography and Still and Motion program at Mohawk College in 2019, Alexis is now working directly in the industry as a freelance photographer. Her work includes photographer engagements and weddings, business branding, and real estate photography. Alexis had many opportunities arise from her time at Mohawk. This includes participating in Ontario's skills competition in 2019, bringing home a silver medal, yay, in photography, and as well winning the huge award here, national award, the CCAN 2019 Art Showcase in photography category. So the first time we ever were allowed to even enter, or I even heard about this, and Alexis brought home the gold, a national award. So Alexis Burton, everyone. I'll give you a clap, Alexis. Next up, from 2016, sorry to date all these, Carlo King. Carlo King is a 2016 graduate of the Creative Photography Still Motion program at Mohawk College. In his graduating year, he received an Emerge Media Award for videography. Carlo has been part of the light imaging team since 2017, working as a videographer, director, and editor. He has been shooting both video and stills on a commercial level for clients such as Dairy Farmers of Ontario, University of Waterloo, and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. And I'm telling you, I hope Carlo can put his contacts out there, maybe in the chat, because I think all my students, especially the first year students that are just learning video, will be blown away with Carlo's video talents. Carlo King, everyone. And finally, you've heard her name many times, as Lauren Valvasori has joined us this term to help us out in the open studio this year, class of 2014, and boy, has this program changed a lot since Lauren was there, and she was there from almost the start, and really helped us develop to where we are today. A corporate employee turned entrepreneur, Lauren is a University of Guelph grad who returned to school at Mohawk College in 2012 to learn how to better use her camera and chase her dream. Love that, Lauren. Upon graduating with honors from the Creative Photography and Still Motion program 2 years later, she went full-time in her business, documenting the life and her milestones of her clients. Specializing in weddings and lifestyle photography, she was named to the top 30 under 30 wedding photographers in Canada early in her career, and she has a passion for documenting relationships of all kinds. Her studio is located here in Hamilton, where she also offers mentorships and coaching for other photographers. Lauren remains connected to the program at Mohawk College by chairing the PAC committee. Thank you so much for doing that, Lauren, and is instructing in the continuing education department as well. Let's hear it for Lauren. Welcome all 3. Super excited to have you on the panel. I will be your moderator tonight or this afternoon. My name is Scott Kenny. I'm the program coordinator of photography, still and motion. As you all know, the students that are on this call, and I'm excited that you joined us today. So I have 6 questions for our awesome alum, and I'm going to start that now. And the first question is this: after graduating from Mohawk, what has your career path been? Anyone on the panel can start. What has your career path been since graduating at Mohawk College?
Yeah, okay, I'll start first. So I graduated, like Scott said, in 2019. So it's only been about 2 years now, just about 2 years that I've been graduating. But since I've graduated, I went full-time focusing on my own business as being a freelance photographer. And I'm happy to say that I'm still doing that today, and I'm very busy, and I also have a studio space that I share with other students that I met in the program in the cotton factory in Hamilton. So I do mainly portraits and stuff there, and then I'm also out on like in the field doing engagements, weddings, and then I also am contracted by a company doing real estate photography. So that keeps me really busy Monday to Sunday.
Sorry, I was muted. Can I just add to that, Alexis? How
Mhm.
scary and nerve-wracking was that for you from Lee? Because it was only 2019 that you graduated, and then jumping into it full time. Can you talk to how scary and how nerve-wracking and that was, and how you pulled through to get where you are?
Yeah, and then to add with COVID and everything, it made my first year a little bit harder, but it's all about putting yourself out there, and you have to be confident and like self-driven. There's so many resources out there to help you as well as a business. So I really took advantage of those, and it's put me where I am today.
Excellent, excellent. Lauren or Carlo?
I'll go. Yeah, I see you pointing. Yeah, so I obviously have been out of the program the longest out of the three of us here. But very much like Alexis, I had and as Scott had said too, I returned to the program as a mature student. So I had in my mind right from the get-go that I knew I wanted to do this like for a living. So I had started my business and tried to build up clientele while I was still in the program, so that by the time I graduated 2 years later, I had a little bit of a client base that I was able to do this without going to find another part-time job. And that was just like a personal goal of mine. So I was able to do that. And I also work for myself. So I run my own business and do wedding and lifestyle. And yeah, since then, I've just been able to grow year after year, which has been awesome. Definitely a lot of hard work. But yeah, that's been my path. I have stayed in the same lane in terms of, working with people mainly. But it's been great. And just like Alexis said, with COVID, definitely a hit for everybody in the industry, as it's been for everyone across any field. But yeah, that was my path. I don't know if that's enough info for you, Scott, but that's
Absolutely, absolutely,
yeah.
Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah, so after I graduated in 2016, I still had a part to full-time job at a rock climbing gym in Guelph. And so I was just freelancing on the side when I had time. And that ranged from doing weddings to some real estate stuff. But actually one of the professors at Mohawk, Lisa, reached out to me with a few freelance jobs here and there. And she works as a producer for Light Imaging, which is the company I work for now. So I did a bunch of freelance jobs for Light Imaging, like over the year and a half after graduating. And eventually they liked the work I was doing, so they brought me on full time. So now I've been with them since like full time since 2018. Yeah.
Awesome, Carl. Okay, question number 2. What are the soft skills in your profession above and beyond your technical training? Or pardon me, what are the soft skills in your profession above and beyond your technical training that have helped you succeed? So soft skills, so not technical. What are the soft skills?
So I guess,
No,
Lauren,
go ahead.
okay. I guess like I was saying before, you really, if you're freelance, you really have to be like self-driven and self-motivated. I find being organized is another big thing. If you are the sole proprietor of your business, there's a lot that goes into it. It's more than just photography. So being organized is a huge bonus. You want to be dependable. You want to be credible for your clients. And yeah. Lauren, do you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. The one thing I know for myself personally, communication skills to be able to work. And again, I'm working with people, but I think it goes across the board because if you're working for an employer or you're working for another photographer, communication skills are super, super important. So people skills in general, but being able to properly communicate and professionally communicate is really, really important. And the other thing, along with what Alexis said about being driven and ambitious and all of that. But the other thing that I think is important, which I don't know really how you would classify it, but just the follow through on, your your promises and your actions, like being able to follow through with what you're supposed to do and are, going to do for your next step, I think is another huge thing. So I'll leave it there and then I'll throw it to Carlo to see what he wants to add to.
I agree with you guys. Those are all super important things. And when I was reading these prep questions, I like blanked. I'm like, what are soft skills again? So I had to like go Google. I'm like, what's a list of soft skills? And I was like, oh yes, these apply. So I picked some that I thought applied the most to my career. The first one being openness to criticism, because you're going to work with a lot of clients, and sometimes they're not going to see, your visions aren't going to align, and it's not personal most of the time.
Can I just add to that? So in our program, we have lots of critiques, as the three
Yeah.
Did critiques help you with that to prepare yourself in the photo industry, as we're in essence judged on the images and content that we create?
Yes. 100%. That kind of environment takes the edge off the first time you get something back from a client and he's like, you know what, I don't really dig this. So yeah, super helpful with the critiques in class. The other thing I listed here is adaptability. Sometimes you're gonna be asked to do something that you're not super comfortable with, or it's just like a style of photography or videography that you haven't really done. So sometimes you just gotta pivot and learn and kind of not make some stuff up on the spot, although that does happen sometimes. But you gotta kind of adapt to each client and each kind of need.
Excellent. Okay, next question. Have you pursued additional education and training throughout your career?
Go for it, or do I'll start this one.
Okay.
So I, in terms of formal education, in terms of college or university or anything, I did it backwards. I went to university first and then came back and did the program at Mohawk. But in terms of additional education, I am like such an advocate for that. And I don't necessarily think it has to be another college program, but that's definitely something, if you're interested in, I would recommend looking into. But what I have found for myself, I am like constantly seeking out educational opportunities, whether it's a workshop or a conference, which isn't really happening much this past year, but there's tons of resources online, tons of resources from other photographers or people in the industry, or just across the board, like even learning about things like social media and other things that are relevant to your job. There is so much information out there to be had. So self-improvement and like personal and professional development is something I'm definitely big advocate for. And there's so much stuff out there that's also really free, or it's really affordable. So I am a big advocate. And if one of the other ones wants to speak to their experience, but I have definitely pursued education since day one of leaving the program.
Yeah. So as me as well, like the Hamilton Business Center, it's in City Hall in Hamilton. They offer a bunch of seminars about like how to run a business, how to do your taxes, all of that stuff. And most of them are free. So I've been taking advantage of those a lot, and I find that they're super helpful. Right now, I think they're doing more like video Zoom meetings, but you could still participate in them. And then as well, like Lauren was saying, there's a lot of information out there that's free. Like there's a lot of YouTube videos and like online sites that you can gain knowledge from, learn like extra editing skills here and there, just to keep the knowledge coming in, as well as workshops and seminars, like Lauren was saying.
Yeah, the top thing on my list is YouTube tutorials. Like I look at YouTube tutorials almost every time I edit something. One, because it's after you have like the same clients for a while, sometimes you want to mix it up and you just kind of want to be inspired and see what's out there and like learn something new. But like I said in like the previous answer, sometimes you get stuff that you're not sure how to do, and like most likely somebody's run into that same issue and has made a tutorial about it. But like on Adobe's forums, there's like a bunch of answers to like any technical questions you have about like any of the Adobe suite or like any of the Adobe Creative Cloud programs. And if you're willing to spend money, there are other online classes like Masterclass is like this one website that does. It's less formal. It's more like kind of a lecture-y type learning experience, but still very educational, helpful. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question. What do you see as the coming trends in your sector that new graduates should know about? Could be in tech, could be in business, could be in final product.
Carlo, you start this one.
Fine. Yeah, I was going to do
Come
it.
on, Carlo, every time I
Start with
see
them.
you,
Yeah.
you're talking about new gear or some new little gadget that you're using on your shoot. So,
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of gadgets, I guess this was kind of like segue into trending stuff. But DJI, they just made a FPV drone, which I don't know if many people are familiar with that. It's like a certain type of drone videography that is usually filmed like on a racing type drone, and it's very like it's very dynamic. It's not like a drone shot with like a camera on a gimbal and it's kind of flat. It's very like, I don't know. I can like link something because it's kind of hard to explain. Anyways, it's a pretty big deal that DJI just dropped that. So I definitely see, like, if you're into drone work, that's like a trend that's like up and coming. But what I've written here is like, I've noticed that just photo and video together have been in higher demand now, like more than ever. Like whenever you have a client, or whenever I have a client, they usually want both. So this program is great for that because obviously it's a still motion program.
thanks, Carlo.
No worries.
I think the drone Carlo was talking about, I think it stands for first person view. So you put on these goggles and it's kind of like you're in a virtual reality of it, and you can see what you're filming a lot better. But along with that, there's like Carlo was saying, there's a lot of videos getting huge now. Along with like social media is growing a lot. And I think being able to incorporate social media for your clients as well. So like, for example, the company I work for, Northern Spruce Media, it's actually run by Alex Coombs. She's a professor in the program, but we're starting to do vertical videos now instead of just horizontal videos, so that the clients can use them on their Instagram and on their Facebook as stories, and they fit the format better. So I think maybe the formatting is changing a little bit. But yeah.
And not to cut you off, Alexis, but just to add to that, Harbors now has an Instagram assignment where you have to shoot for social media vertical that the second year students are working on right now.
It's the worst. I'm just gonna cut in that I absolutely despise vertical video, and I know it's like where the trend is going, and I've had to do it, but it's just I can't stand it. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. That's reality we live in.
Even just to kind of jump on, I figured that the video and photo combination that would already be covered. And I think that's totally true. My answer might be a little bit less like exciting. I'm not like super huge into the tech of like what's coming next. Like I know my gear and I know what I need to do my job well, but I'm never like, just being honest, I'm never up and coming like what's coming next. That's not really my jam. But what I will say is I know on like in the industry that I'm in and working with people, I have found that clients don't come to you just to, here's your photos. It's not just handing over photos. It's more of an experience that they are looking for. And that's like my target market. I feel like people who are investing in photography and videography as well, in the market that I'm in, they want an entire experience out of it. And just the other thing that to note on this, I'm not sure if it's relevant or not, but I have just found too that the customer service side of things is something that is never going out of style. So for me, it's something that, there's always like the next thing that you can do to up your game on that side of things. And like, yes, taking amazing pictures and amazing video is really cool, but it's something too where that would probably impress your industry friends more than it might impress a potential client with those little nitty gritty things that they probably wouldn't recognize anyway. So that's just from my point of view to tag on to that. That's what I found with the people that I'm dealing with.
Excellent. Thank you all. What resources?
Sorry, do you mind if I interject, Scott?
Go for it.
We just had, while we're still on that topic, I'm just monitoring our chat feature as well. And Robin was wondering if there are any tips for shooting vertical video, and if you would be able to share any of those.
Sure.
There must be an assignment due.
Yeah. what I usually do if I know I need to put something in vertical is I'll shoot in 4K if your camera can do 4K, and then throw on the thirds grid, and then when you're framing your shot, just try and keep what you want in your vertical video in the middle third. You can film with your camera turned sideways in like full HD, like 1920 1080, but if you film horizontal, you'll have the option to always make a landscape version if the client needs that or will want that in the future. And not to get super technical on this call, but then you can also keyframe the shots if you're doing in vertical and you have extra room on the sides. I hope that makes sense, but yeah.
And Robin shoots with a Sony as well. So what you're saying, Carla, should work.
Beauty.
Robin, any follow up on that?
You're welcome.
Sorry, Scott.
Yes.
The whole setup here is really strange. It's not like a normal Zoom call. So that's why, I don't know if it looks different on anyone else's screen, but yeah, that was super helpful. Thank you.
No worries.
Awesome. Okay. What resources should new graduates use to find work in the field? People and places to turn to, as an example. Or maybe sites.
So when I first got out of school and I didn't have like a huge client base yet, I relied on this website called Upwork, where I got a couple clients for like product photography and stuff like that. So that's a great site that worked for me. But then I got into focusing on my own business a little bit more and getting more clients. And I did Google advertising is great as well. Facebook advertising is good. You want to build like relationships and you want to build a network of people. So say like you're into wedding photography, you want to build a network of other vendors as well, because they can always recommend you from their clients to you. For example, I'm in the cotton factory with my studio, and there's over 60 different studios there. So we're all like a big community as well. So it's great to just like build your relationships, because you never know when somebody might need your services.
Now, Cotton Factory still closed, Alexis, because of COVID?
Closed to the public, yes.
Okay. Are you allowed to be in there shooting?
Yep.
Okay, great. Lauren.
Yeah, I think even just to jump on what Alexis was saying too, just connecting with as many people as you can. So even, I am in the wedding world and working with, the general public, but I think any sort of connections that you can make, whether it's in a social circle or it's going to be a new circle that you're reaching out to, definitely trying to connect with as many relevant people to whatever, sector that you want to go into. And then using social media, using, like Alexis said too, like Instagram and Facebook, like people, especially in this past year, like everyone is connecting online. So it's something where you don't need to be hesitant about reaching out to people to just even build an initial relationship before moving on. But there's also tons of great like community groups on Facebook, or, if you're looking for them, these things are there. So whether it's within your community or through something like city programs or just like different community networks, definitely there for the taking if you are interested in seeking them out.
Yeah, 100%. I also had like Facebook groups as an example, because there's a ton on if you go on Facebook, people post all the time, be like, hey, I need an assistant or I need a producer for this. And sometimes it's like, not the most glamorous stuff, but you got to say, I have it actually kind of like a general tip here, but just say yes to as many things as possible in the beginning, because that's the way you meet people. One job leads to another, and and if you put in the hard work and you make a good impression, they'll think of you next time, like, oh, who's that assistant you had the one time? And people start calling or messaging you.
Excellent, Carlo. There's a question from Robin. Alexis, it's going to you. How did your clients find you on Upwork?
Okay, so when I joined Upwork, I created a profile And I made sure I added a lot of detail in there so people already have an idea of who I am just by visiting my profile. You can attach portfolio links and stuff like that. And then what you do from there is there's clients who'll post a job, like they'll have like a job out there. And then there's all these freelancers are putting in a proposal for that job. So I submitted proposals for jobs that I thought would be a good fit for me. And but then as well, they can also reach out to you. So a couple that I did find, I didn't even apply to them. They just saw my profile, thought I would be a good fit, and they reached out to me. So make sure your online presence is very strong because people aren't going to know to hire you if they don't know who you are.
Excellent, Alexis, excellent. Okay, the final canned question, and then I have a question of my own. What is one piece of advice or knowledge you wish you had known when you graduated from Mohawk College?
I'll start this one. I think the power of networking is definitely something that I wish I knew and started earlier. And whether it was an issue of like waiting until I felt more confident or whatever the case may be, which I think is where a lot of students might be lingering at this point or shortly after graduation, but being able to put yourself out there and connect with people or show your portfolio or, you know, apply for a certain job or whatever the case may be. I think just like that kick in the butt is something that I wish that I had done a little bit earlier. Like I'm pretty motivated in general, but I think knowing that coming out of school would have been something to basically get rid of the fear of either rejection or not being able to accomplish whatever the next task was. And just also knowing that the next step isn't automatically going to like drop in your lap. So the next like or first job in the case where after graduation, you have to be able like to be hungry and go get it and earn everything that is coming to you. So don't feel like because, you know, typically in school, the next assignment's coming or the next whatever. Once you leave, that's gone. So it really has to come from you. And I think recognizing that early on will really benefit everyone.
Excellent. Alexis, Carlo?
Yeah, I found this one a little bit of a tough question, especially because I'm almost so new out of school that I don't think I'm at that point where I can look back at myself yet. But I think I would just say that there's so many things to help you. It might seem intimidating and like daunting running your own business, but there's so many, like if you don't know, just ask for help. Or if you want to learn more, go and shadow or assist with another photographer. There's so many ways like to help you. There's so many things to help you succeed that it doesn't have to be as scary as you think it is.
And stay connected with your faculty from Mohawk. I always love when our alumni are sending me images or look at what I just worked at or what have you. I think that's another thing that I want to welcome and make sure that all our alumni do. Carlo.
My answer actually is kind of what I said to the first question about being open to criticism. But sitting here listening to you guys, I just thought of another thing that's actually really important in general for your mental health, but to just try your best to not compare yourself to other people in the industry, because it's just a game that you can't win. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of the time on social media, what you're seeing is you know, just the best of somebody's work. And so if you look at somebody and be like, oh man, they're working so much, they have these clients, I wish I had that. They're obviously, it's just one side of the story. So yeah, my advice would just be to focus on yourself and just try not to compare yourself to other people. Yeah.
Good advice, Carlo. Good advice. Andres has a question to the panel. When and why did you decide to specialize in a certain type of photography?
Carlo, go for it.
Well, you know, it's funny because I was going to go to Carlo, and that's maybe Andre, that sets me up for my question that I want to ask the group. But I know I think you decided in our program that you really heavily wanted to get into video, Carlo, and I know Lauren was the opposite of that, heavy on the still side, and I think ultimately we need to understand both. Maybe you can talk to why video and why you feel that's a better fit for you.
Well, first off, I want to say I do love both. I love doing stills and video. This is a tricky question. It's kind of a loaded question because it's kind of like I don't know. It's just more of a feeling. I feel like with video, there's just there's so many variables of how you can cut one shoot. You know, I think that's an assignment in one of the classes. Everybody's given the same footage, like, you know, make a 30-second short of this thing. And you can come up with just so many different stories with the same footage. And I don't know. I think just the possibilities with video, because of the variables, are just, it's like unlimited. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think for me, specializing, it was I had kind of figured out when I came into the program, I thought, oh gosh, I'm never going to work with people. Like that just seems so daunting. Like shooting a wedding seems so daunting. And then I ended up, that's what I do for a living. So it's something where I really found it a natural like progression. I think, you know, you really have a gut feeling on what you enjoy doing, and you should trust your gut in terms of, you know, even the assignments during your time at school, what it is that you enjoy and what you're good at. Just like Carlo, I really like video too. It's just not where I chose to specialize. I don't think you have to do it immediately, but I think it'll really help your career if you're able to kind of hone in terms of like how you're going to market yourself. If you do find one area that you want to focus on.
Another question. Oh, I'm sorry, Alexis, did you want to add to that? No.
I do a little bit of everything, so I don't have too much to add to that.
I think that's the perfect approach 2 years out of the program. Another question in from Robin. Any suggestions for finding assisting or second shooting opportunities?
Yeah. So Facebook groups is another big one. There's a lot of just like photography or videography related groups. So you could always make a post, put something out there. Another good tip is find someone that you really admire and that you look up to and reach out to them. Like the worst that could happen is they say no, which would be crazy, but everybody's looking, like everybody could use a little bit of help. And I know with giving help, you could learn a lot.
It's honestly it's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, I don't really have much to add to that, but that's good advice.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, which brings me to my question now that all the canned questions have been asked. Question number 7. I am so honored to have you guys part of this, and I love that we stay in contact with this alumni. You're all award-winning photographers. Yay! How does that affect you? Was it positive? Was there any effect? Did it help you with business? Maybe did it help you with confidence? So talk to me about being award-winning photographers, and Carlo and Alexis were award-winning photographers as students in the program, which is a big deal. And Lauren, very shortly, it might have been the year or 2 years after graduating from the program.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. It gives you a bunch of confidence. The Skills Ontario competition that I did was a little bit nerve-wracking because it was a competition and it was live and you're being judged there on the spot. Whereas the other award that I won for SciCan, it's the Colleges and Institutes of Canada, that I just submitted a photo and then it's in the judge's hands. So that one was a lot easier, I would say. But the skills competition is great, even though it's a little nerve-wracking. It helps you kind of get a sense of what it's like working under pressure and stuff like that. So I found it a really great learning opportunity.
Alexis, can you just add to, or any advice, because we just actually opened up that post to submit to the Canadian Institute in Canada, the CCAN competition, photography specifically. Do you have any advice for our students?
That's a good question. I would say just follow your heart and instinct. I know when I submitted to the competition, I submitted 3 photos 2 of them were portraits and one was a street photography shot that I just did on my own time that I really loved. And that was the one that ended up winning. So I would just say, go with your gut feeling, be original, be creative. And that's my advice to you guys. Best of luck with submitting.
Excellent. Lauren or Carlo?
I don't know where she is in for me with you guys. If she's that way or that way.
Yeah, so I would say, I don't know, it might be a controversial answer, but I don't think for my clients specifically, and again, I'm like in a bit of a niche, like you find your niche of who you're looking for. I don't necessarily think like the awards really matter as much to my clients who are, you know, pay my bills and allow me to do this for a living. But it definitely is something on the flip side that I try and always submit my work to different things that pop up that are relevant to, you know, my brand and what I would love to be like featured in or have like recognition for. I think the 30 under 30 was amazing. Like that was earlier in my career. And I think that was a huge just confidence boost. So it's great, I think, more so for me in terms of confidence and, but it's not necessarily something that I think my clients seek out when they're looking for a wedding photographer. I think more my style is what appeals to them. So it's nice to have and like always nice to be featured in terms of just like spreading my net a little bit further, recognition wise and confidence wise and all that stuff. But I think the benefit is more so for me and like getting my work critiqued and reaching new levels just for like personal goals as opposed to what my clients are seeking out. And that's just me personally. It could be very different for anyone across the board.
No, I agree with that. I'm like, maybe I should put award-winning videographer in my Instagram bio because I like
Sure,
yeah,
you should.
I honestly kind of forgot about it a little. Until I submitted the bio the back there, and that kind of goes to show the same thing as like I don't ever pitch to anybody be like, hey, you should come work with me because I'm an award-winning videographer. But what Lauren said with like doing wonders for your confidence, that's definitely what I felt when I got that award. And it was definitely like motivating. You just kind of want to get better and get to that next level. You know, like, so I'm going to throw in a rock climbing comparison here because I love rock climbing as well. But when you work on a climb for so long, that's just like out of your grade. It's just like a little bit too difficult, but eventually you get it. It's like you celebrate for like 10 minutes and then it's like on to the next thing. And I feel like the award's the same thing. It's just like, you know, it's great to pause and reflect and look at yourself and look at the progress and celebrate, but you don't want to get too caught up in that, you know, you don't want to get stagnant.
Yep.
Great advice. I want to personally thank Carlo and Lauren and Alexis. It was fantastic to see you again, and thank you for giving your time to our new students and our new generation of photographers. Your answers were fantastic, and I'm very proud of all of you.